Now that I've actually set up my audio correctly, you know, 'cause apparently I had it off, we can get into our tutorial section of this. Now, if you did not watch my video on setting up Blender, again, watch it. Otherwise, this probably won't make as much sense. So go to File, go to Import, Images as Planes. It'll come up with a pop-up. You can put in your images as you will. And when you first bring it in, and you use, by the way, the middle mouse button to turn around, it's just going to be this gray blobby. If you go down here, though, you can go here to this viewport setting. You'll be able to see the materials. If you go to the rightmost one, it's obviously more on your computer, but you will be able to see it with a lighting. Woo, sparkly. So I usually use kind of a combination of both of these. It really just depends on what I'm doing. Now, for the record, there's a couple things that you need to know. Now, this is plain, so there's some limitation to what I'm going to do here, but I'm going to tell you what you need to know. There are scale keys, there are rotate keys, and there are grab keys. We're going to be using these shortcut keys through this tutorial. R is for rotate, S is for scale, G is for grab. You can do that on the X, Y, and Z axis. So if I press R, you know, I can rotate this, and it's going to be according to my view, okay? We use the number keys, that's, you know, on a full keyboard. You can change the emulation and the properties, but I'm not getting into that because I'm just not. When I press 7, this changes the view to the top. So if I press R and then I type in the words, not, you know, numbers, same diff, and then I press enter, it's going to change it to 90 degrees. You can see here in the rotate panel that I've changed it 90 degrees. If I go back to 1, which is the front view, you'll see, hey, this has been changed. And if you go back into perspective, which is by going into the, by using the middle mouse button, you can say, hey, this plane has been changed as far as the perspective goes. Now, of course, I'm going to have a lot more panels than you are here in this next little part that I'm going to explain. T is for on the left. I pressed the wrong button. And is for on the right. And again, I do think this up. Let's just ignore that, okay? Here at the top, though, you'll see that this scale says 1. You want it to say 1. You just do, okay? Now, sometimes, just as a quick kind of a thing, that is a little goofy sometimes. And while I'm recording, it's a little goofy sometimes. But sometimes you'll need to click on this window here if it's a little goofy. But if you press S and X, you'll be able to move this here. S and Z in this particular instance to, you know, move it up on the Z axis as well. But you can just press scale, and as you can see here, this is getting bigger, all right? Well, if we want to keep everything at just 1 and still scale it, well, what do? Well, we can go here to the object mode, we can go to apply, and we can go to scale. Now, all transforms is the location where it is, rotation, and the scale. And this is something that we're going to get into later of all transforms. So we just press apply scale, and it'll go here, boop, 1. In this particular case, though, I actually want it all here, 1. Now, I want to go back, and you see this little life preserver. That is a 3D cursor. So this is the third one down. Here, I'm going to press 0 because I actually want to have this centered here at the center of everything. Now I'm going to press N again here to get rid of that panel. Wow, my brain just died there for a moment. Now, don't forget you want to go here to save as. And don't forget to save projects. You can set up automatic saves, or you could just laboriously save things a million times like I do. In this particular instance, I have chosen to give this beautiful file the name of this mountain thing. So, now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and add our little mountain hill thing that we made in Photoshop. Now, to be clear, I'm going to add first the black and white image, and the purpose of this is to show you how to do it wrong. So I'm going to go over here again to import images as planes. Once again, we're going to have this, image, and again, it's the wrong image, so we're going to change that though. So we're going to press 7 on the number pad, R90. And if you need to go the other direction, you just press, I know what words to say, you press the negative, or subtract, press 90. So we're going to go actually and press G, because we're going to move this just a little bit on the y-axis, just a teens right here. So we're changing the location. Now you can actually move this, ironically, and now you'll see this is slightly in front of this. Now when you import a plane, it automatically does the materials for you. So you don't have to worry about hooking things up if you don't know a whole lot about Blender. However, you should learn about it because that's just smart. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the shading panel. And, okay. So this is the image we didn't want. Notice that it has two. We had the color and we had the alpha. So I'm going to get rid of that. Bye. See ya. Now this is the folder actually that I have. And this is the actual image here. I'm going to take that. And I'm going to take the alpha here. I'm going to go to pre-multiplied actually. I'm going to go to and connect the color to the base. Then I'm going to go over here to the alpha and stick that there. Now, this is not necessary in this particular case. However, I'm going to teach anyway. I know you're not going to know what this is, but I'm going to take this vector over here. I'm going to go to texture coordinate. I'm going to go to UV. I'm going to slap that right there just for now. It's just a better practice. So, I'm not going to explain what that is for now. We're going to stick that right there. All right. Now here comes the ever exciting part of using our materials. Now, the first thing I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to go over here to the scene collection. I'm actually going to drag these into the mesh. Now, I have these already selected so that they're available, but if you don't, you can go here to the restriction toggles. And this right here, if it's not selected, you can. This just makes it easier so that you're not selecting on things that you don't want to select. This is really essential when you're working with planes because, especially if they're right in front of you and you can't select them, or you keep selecting the wrong one, you just want to scream. So it makes it so that you can still have it, there and not hide it. It just won't select it. So it's a really necessary tool. So in this particular case, though, I am going to hide it. So we're going to use this here. We're going to go back here. Now this is the material panel. Now, this is going to be a fair warning to you. We're going to make a new material. But there is a bug right now. And in the previous version of Blender, you could copy about 3 or 4 of them before it crashed. So, you may copy this material once, and it may die. Just so you know, be prepared for it to crash. Just open it back up if it does, okay? So, I'm going to make a new material by pressing that plus button like I did. I'm going to call it whatever, I don't care. Because I really don't. And then I'm going to click on this again. I'm going to press copy material. And I could have pressed copy to select it, but we're not going to do that. And I'm going to select this. I'm going to pray and press paste material. It's usually better if you wait a couple of seconds in between it. It doesn't seem to matter what kind of PC you have. It just does what it wants, okay? Now, even though I created this new material, it's still not applied to this. So, I'm going to go from object mode into edit mode, and I'm going to press this nice word called assign, and it's going to assign this material to this, okay? So this, basically, we're just changing this material to this right here, okay? And if none of this makes sense to you, you could just, I don't know, slap me in the head with a fish or just talk to me about it, I guess, if I'm around. Now, we're going to go back here to the shading panel. And it is under that. And we're going to go back here to the texture coordinate UV. I think I double check something here. It should, yeah, automatically. Now this automatically has the UV already. UV is a big topic I am not going to explain. It already has one though. What we're going to do is that we're going to go over here to the shading, not the rendering. Oh my gosh, someone slapped me. We're going to go over here to the shading, and I'm going to drag my normal over here. Now, if you didn't make a normal, not necessarily worried about this, but in case you didn't know this for later, I'm going to take this from the sRGB and I'm going to change it to non-color. And I'm going to take this, put the vector over here to UV. Oh my goodness, I'm going to slap this thing here. And I'm going to change this to normal. Now, oh goodness gracious, I pressed Control and 2 and Control and 4 and Control 6 and Control 8 will pan, around. Just so you know, I just kind of slapped it with my wrist drop, so sorry about that. Now, if you go here and you press M, this will hide it, so you can actually see if your normal is working. Now, to be clear, Blender has 2 different render engines, Eevee and Cycles. We are using Eevee, just so you know. But if you press M again over that, you'll see, hey, wait a second. It is using the normal matte. Now you can play around with the specular, whatever it is that you feel you want to do. It's entirely up to you and entirely up to your preference. You can always work on this later. The roughness, there's so much that I can go into as far as materials go. I'm going to turn the roughness pretty much. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how it is as far as the final image goes. We'll just see the camera later. We'll we'll see how it is. We'll see how it is. As far as how that goes, we're gonna turn on here, and we're gonna do now that it's that I'm gonna turn this off here. And now, of course, now I didn't use the height map for this, or I didn't actually add another material for this, but the reason for that is I'm going to make the height map. But you want to do that actually for this material or whatever material that you're going to use. For the height, it's just to preserve whatever material that you originally had in case you need it again. In this particular case, whatever. So I'm going to go and yeah, I'm going to use this. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. All right. So I'm going to go over here, and now this is the height map. All right, so we're going to use this, and we're going to go and connect to this. This is the, again, it's the flowers here. I want to turn it on this side so I can actually see it. And again, I'm going to press M here. And going to go to non-color because we're not using that. And I'm going to press bump. It go to the bump height. And then you're going to go to normal here. And you'll see. Oh, goodness gracious, isn't that lovely? All right. Then you can kind of turn down or you can turn it up, you know, to see, hey, all right, making that lovely difference. All right, so press M here. Sometime in the universe. Woo! All right. To add that, I'm going to turn up the roughness. We kind of want that same kind of, even though we're using a bump in this particular case. Oh my goodness gracious. How lovely. Okay. Okay, we're going to adjust this just a little bit here. And then again, we're going to go back and we're going to kind of see, hey, how does this look here? All right. I mean, it's a dandy, like candy. All right. Now, I'm actually going to save a copy of this because I want to have this for later. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to go to save copy, I'm going to save, or you can go to save as, you can save in the copy, whatever. We just want to preserve this because we're going to go back and make a different version of this file for later because we're going to do some more advanced stuff in the future. So in case you don't want to do this all over again, it's there. Now, there's a couple things here I want to note, which is, well, you'll see. I'm going to take these, again, I'm going to go back here into the front view. Now, what you just saw me press was B, actually, and this selects everything. Now, A and double A also select. So we're going to take that and press G and Z. We're going to move these up here to about right here. But then, you notice this little orange dot here? I'm going to go to Object on each one. I'm going to select each one individually here by going to the Scene panel. Object, Set Origin, Origin to 3D Cursor. And I'm going to do that. You'll notice that it will move down here. Object, Set Origin to 3D Cursor. And we want this to be at the bottom. What happened to you? Thank you. Move that a little bit in front of that. All right, so now we had that here. And now that's at the bottom of the image. And we had that right here, just where we need it. So, in reality, I lied to you about 3.6. I actually ended up upgrading because I ended up not having time because of, things coming out. So I upgraded during the middle of this tutorial. However, you still should be able to do this in 3.5 probably the same way, so it shouldn't really make a difference. So just so you know, that's what I did for the sake of this tutorial. So now we have our flower plate. We have our mountains back here, la-di-da. And now we kind of want to focus on what we can do to make them move. Although, the first thing I'd like to do is actually copy this plane here because I think this would look a lot better if we added some additional depth. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to double click actually over here, and I'm going to name this flowers because it would just be better that way. And I'm going to click this again here so that I cannot actually select this back here, because that way, again, I just want to make sure that this is easy to click here. And I'm actually going to make this and name that mountains because, makes sense. So we'll do that. And I press 1 to get over here. And I'm just going to press Shift D. And as you can see on the right side, that's already created one. But I'm going to press left click here and it's going to deposit it. I'm going to press SX -1 and then enter. And it's going to mirror it on the middle axis because it's this right here. Well, it's on the medium point. It's on the medium point, which is right here, my brain. Like 2 circles, same thing. There's the medium point, which is the middle of the object. So it's going to rotate on that axis. So now we have 2 of these, and I want to take this. I'm going to press 3 to go on this side. I'm going to press G and Y to kind of just move it slightly forward. So I just kind of want to have just a tiny bit forward, maybe not that much. We're going to move that back just a tiny amount. Okay. All right. So now I have this just a little bit in front of that, and I have that just a little bit in front of that. And I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to actually move this up just a little bit just so that we can kind of see our animation timeline. Now there is an animation tab here, and I would typically recommend using this tab, but we're not going to use it for this particular second. We're going to ignore it. I'm going to set the animations, that's how many frames we're going to do, to 100, just because I want to keep it a little bit simple, for reasons. And so I'm going to take this, I'm going to make this flowers too, because I don't like 001. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to hide this as well because I want to. I'm going to right click on the flowers again, selecting it. Even though the mountains, I could have them so that I could select them, but right click, to select it. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on frame 1, which is right here. And if you go right here, you can, change what frame that you're on, or you could just move this along the timeline. So whatever you want to do. So it says that it's going to start here on frame 1, and so that's what we're going to be, is on frame 1. So if you ever need to go on a specific frame, you could just go boop 1 and it will take you there. So the animation that we're going to do is just something that's very simple, very easy. It's going to be just a very slow animation. So what I want to do is I'm going to set this. I'm going to press I. Now there's a bunch of options here. We're not going to go to anything that's too complicated. And I'm going to go right here to where it says the location, the rotation, and the scale. I'm going to create what's called a keyframe. I'm going to press that. So the location, the rotation, and the scale are that. Okay? Now, I'm going to go all the way over here to 100. I'm going to press G and Y. I'm going to move this forward to maybe about right here because it kind of lines up with right here. And I could technically do this a lot more precisely by going to move again, but I don't care. So I'm going to press I again. I'm going to press location, rotation, and scale. So if I go back here, and again, you can scroll across and see that, but if you press space, you'll see it is slowly going across right here, okay? Now, the next thing that we want to do is we actually want to see how this would look if the camera was here. Now, the camera, we can select it, and I think that's over there. I'm like, where is it? So if we press N and we go to the location here, we got to press 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so that's going to take this and turn it into where I want it to be, which is down here. And I am now going to set the size of our render. We want to essentially make it so that it comes out in this nice, square thing that we got going on here. I know this is a lot of information that I'm kind of slamming right into your brain right now, but I'm just trying to give you as much step-by-step information, which is kind of funny considering I was going slow earlier. So we want to go over here where you render tab, and we're going to actually be setting these settings a little bit later. I'm just kind of going over here, and then you have your output tab. All right, so you want to set the resolution to 1024 is what we're going to be setting it. We could be setting it to less if we really wanted it to, and then we're going to be rotating it -90 because reasons. And we want that to be facing up, or maybe we don't. Maybe we want to face it the other way. Who really cares? And then we want to go to view on camera and then the active camera. And that's going to be showing us, hey, this is the view that the camera sees. So if we click now, sometimes, just FYI, again, I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier. Maybe I did. But sometimes if you don't click over here, it'll bug out and be like, dude, this thing doesn't work. So just FYI. So you want to move back, and we just kind of want to adjust this so that we see. And then again, G and Z, we could just move this up, whatever. So we have the camera here, and maybe you want to move it in. We can move it in. Or not. We could just move it in. And we could set that, say, here. Just a little bit. Kind of have that location, rotation. And then set this to that. And then we just move that slowly because we want to make sure. Alright, so we'll have kind of this feeling here. We'll see how it is. Actually, we want to go in the opposite direction. Don't mind me. Yeah, I think it does. That should look better. That's what my brain originally said, but I wanted to see. Alright, so we kind of have this zoom here. We're just going in slowly, like we're just getting to that little bit of the world coming in. Now, we can go ahead and put on our flowers too. We can take the, obviously we want to make sure that's selectable. We can go back here to flowers and, so that we're not selecting it. accidentally. And we can go ahead and make sure that we're here on frame 1. And if we want to, take that, make sure that we're here on frame 1. And we want to make sure that we're kind of in the same relative speed as far as that goes. So, but we want to make sure that it's kind of not too much. We'll see how it looks. Maybe a little bit much. We want it a little bit faster, not because we want it to kind of look like it's just a little bit. I think it needs to be a little more. I think there's a little bit more of a dynamic there. We'll see. And the other thing too is that I want to go from, I'm going to change the sizing of this actually here. And I want to take the scale of this and I want to move this actually here on the Z-axis, and I want to change the location, rotation, and scale so that we're kind of moving in here. It's a little bit smaller as it goes along. I'm going to do the same for the other one here. Only it's not going to be as pronounced. We want to do just a tiny amount. Because again, we want to think about perspective when we're looking at these type of things here. And just move that slightly over. So I just want a little bit. I don't want too much. We just want a little bit of that as we go along. I think I want to move this slightly over to, because we're looking at the camera and we want to have a little bit so that it's just, let's see how it looks. I think it's a little bit too much. We got to move it just a little bit back over. Not too much, but not too. We don't want it to be too. I do think it's better kind of apart, actually. And as you make decisions, you can kind of visualize and be like, okay, no, that doesn't work, or this looks a little bit better, and you'll kind of figure that out as you go along. And then, of course, now you can also add, hey, a little bit of, Z height here. So I can go, hey, this might look a little bit better if this is, say, coming up. So I could go, oh, hey, this is here. The camera's coming up over here. Maybe it's a little bit too much, maybe just a little bit, because sometimes the subtle differences are like really the kind of things that you want to bring into, your animations. It's like you're softly coming in, it's just a nice peaceful scene that you're going along and that you're doing. You also want to set your handle type, to automatic, your interpolation mode. I would have, your Bezier curve, Bezier, whatever. However you want to say it, I don't care. As well. You have that. You can save this here. And now we can go to, actually, that's a lie. Now, depending on how you do this, you can set this as a PNG. If you plan on using the images for any other kind of rendering or whatever, or you can change the file format as well, to all this. Let's say you could change the encoding. You want to go down here and before you could set to, I think it's good. So then you want to go over here to your output, and you want to put in your, wherever it is you're going to save it. You're going to put in, your name, and then put like MP4. I chose to go with you can go with medium quality. You can go with, lossless, whatever it is that you're gonna do. It doesn't really matter. And then you just want to go ahead and hit, render animation, and it's going to go ahead and render it. So we'll just, sit here, elevator music, while it quickly renders. Once it's renders, we can go ahead and close out of this. We go to render and we can press view animation, and it will show our lovely little render here. You can also, of course, go to the file directly, and we have our first animation. In part 3, we're going to be going over some more advanced ways to start to animate. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you have any questions, feel free to just ask me, and I'll try to get back to you when I can. Thank you very much, and have a good day.